Specifically, I want to go over something called IES lights. So IES lights, it's an electrical standard. I can't international electrical standards or something like that. Something close to that, I feel like. So this is what we were doing just a few minutes ago, and I want to sort of change my narrative. So instead of being out on the beach, which is sort of weird with a table like this, I'll delete these guys completely. Hit 5 to go back into shaded mode. And now I want my room back, which I should probably name room, and unhide it to get my room back. Where are you? Channel bar, visibility on. There we go. So now my room's back. Now we're going to change this to a very different environment. It's going to be interior. Specifically, again, I want to talk about photometric lights or IES lights. This is going to be on your Arnold shelf. It's going to be... Check the box.
What box?
The box the cat's always in.
I already checked that box.
Oh. So, photometric light is the third icon. You can scale this, by the way. I don't think that the scale makes any difference. There's only one light where the scale really does make a huge difference, and that's the area light, which we haven't gone over yet. But as far as an area light is concerned, area lights are really good for panel lights. So you might go into an office and have a panel light overhead, or you're in an elevator maybe, and there's a panel light in the elevator, for example. So those are really good for fluorescent softbox lights, I guess is a good way of putting it. Anyway, this is different. These are called IES lights. Oh no, I've got this really weird image plane on my camera, which is super annoying. How do I get rid of it? 1 second. I gotta get rid of this image plane. Okay, a little bit of weird stuff here, but there's the image plane. Delete. Ha! I feel much better now. That was annoying. Okay, so back to IES lights. This is an IES light. Icon looks a little bit like a point light, but notice there's an arrow. This is really important. Why do I care about IES lights? Why are they so cool? Because an IES light is, well, physically accurate. So, of course, I'm always a fan of physically accurate stuff. Control D. Well, actually, before I do this, what kind of IES light or photometric light? I'd like everybody right now to Google IES light profiles. Again, it's IES profile. It's going to be free. You can add free to the search if you want. And there are different places that host these. So, here's one right here. It's all free. And what it does is it basically creates these shadow patterns on the wall for a recessed light. And yeah, you just download it. There's free downloads, 4 megs. This one's zipped. So unzip it, or unroar it. There we go. And now, if we look at these lights, we may not be able to see something from this. Oh, actually, they came with PNGs. Look at that. That's nice. So, yeah, sweet. So the PNG actually shows you exactly what it's going to look like in 3D. So for example, if I were to pick this one, this is going to be my area light. That's what the shadow pattern will actually look like. And if I go through these with my arrow key, that's going to be my bollard, that's going to be my comet, that's going to be my cylinder, wide. And so, ooh, I like the defined one is kind of neat. I got the God rays things going on. That's a defined diffuse. So if I want any of these shadow patterns, ooh, like the display one is nifty. So then I go back into Maya, I go into the attributes of this photometric light. That's Control A for attributes. Go to photometry file, and if you guess this is your IES file, then yeah, you win. So go back to where the IES files are.
Cat's found.
Where was the cat?
I have no idea. He just showed up.
The cat appeared out of nowhere. He materialized. He was in my bathroom for some reason.
No, he came from in there.
He was in my closet. I don't know. Students are like, drama of the hidden cat, of the hiding cat.
He found a new hiding place.
Okay. Well, I put the define diffuse. He's probably somewhere in the closet. So I put the define diffuse in there. And now if we go back to our render window, we should get something dramatically different. We can still use render region, I think. Should be able to. Okay, well, right off the bat, it's way too dark. Hit the escape button. Don't wait around. If it's black, hit the escape button. Let's do it again. What's the problem? We don't have enough intensity. So when I'm adding intensity, I like to jump by powers of 10. But you can jump to whatever number you want as long as you start to see something. As long as you can see stuff, that's all that matters. And it looks like I'm starting to see it. Oh, make sure you're rendering from the right camera. So if I'm rendering from perspective, that's obviously... Oh, that was the problem. There it is. Got it. There it is right there. So it's a bit small, but let's crank up the intensity. I'm going from 160 to 320, and that might seem odd and random, but it's powers of 2 times 10, so, and I know the light's here, so I can just draw a little render region around it. And you can see it's starting to get, it's definitely starting to get brighter. So let's really crank it up. Let's go to 640. Turn up the samples to 3 or 4. And now we're getting this cool effect of the, now guys, you can see it, right? How does that look? Pretty cool. See how the recessed light now behind the candle, you can really see the shadow of the candle. So let's go to the render view, and we want to move this light sort of out of the shot. Under the word renderer is a box with a blue sphere. This is my resolution gate. Resolution gate is going to be what renders. So everything inside this box or resolution gate renders. Everything outside of the resolution gate does not render per se. So I'm actually just pushing this light right outside of the shot. You can even crank up the intensity more if you want. 1280. And then go back to your render window and then render the region again. And so I'm getting this recessed light back here to really just kind of spotlight my candle. It's not actually a spotlight, I don't want to confuse you, but I mean in terms of the light pattern and what we call a shadow pattern or light pattern, that's kind of emphasizing the candle, which is kind of a cool effect. Really the light is just casting light onto the wall in the background. But I really want to impart to you guys that you should be lighting one thing at a time. So if you get your candle light looking really cool, then move on to maybe your fill light. And then when you get your fill light working against your candle light, you can maybe turn off both things and then work on some other source of light like recess lighting, which is what I'm working on now. Now I'm kind of curious about something. I'm kind of curious about, can I scale this? So if I click Save Image, I can draw a little box around this. So if I click Save Image right here, then maybe I can test the theory that if I scale the light, maybe I'll get lucky and scale will actually affect this throw pattern a little bit. Like hopefully we'll get a larger light pattern or throw pattern. that's interesting. I think that either I moved it too far up or it worked. Let's move it back down. So this is kind of what's nice here is that I can compare with the slider, like before, after, and then render another region. Each time you click on the, okay, so a little higher up. I don't think scale doesn't really appear to do much. So it's probably just intensity. Maybe radius. 3200. Ah. One more time. I think this will be it. Cool. Cool. It's about what I was looking for. It's close. Move the light up a little bit more. If we're happy with it, we can go to the top view, maybe, and move, no, sorry, not just position, but rather duplicate my lights. So, like maybe I want quite a few, so I can hold down Shift and clone it so that it goes along the wall, like that. So that's one way to do it. Or if you want, like what I prefer to do, I want it to be exactly the right distance between them. So the way I know that it's going to be exactly the right distance is I'll hit Control D to duplicate the light, and then decide the distance, and then hit Shift D, and Shift D will duplicate with exactly that distance. I'd like to show you that again, if I may. So you can either hold down Shift to just simply clone the light, and that works pretty well. Or I can hit Control D, duplicate the light with the proper distance, and then hit Shift D. Ah, didn't quite want to work that time. Try that again. So Control D to duplicate the light, move it the distance you want, then hit Shift D, see, and it will duplicate with that distance. So I probably have too many lights at this point because these guys on the end are going to cost me more in rendering time, and I'm probably not going to see them. If I go to my render camera, it's all about the lights that I see, but let's see what this looks like now. Cool. What do you guys think? Do you understand how that works? Can you hear me? Is there anybody out there?
Both? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Both Twitch and Discord volume is on.
Oh, gotta say something.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
You can interrupt me for that. That's definitely fine to interrupt me for that because I don't want echoing on your side. I always forget to do that. So the recessed lighting is maybe done. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lights visible. So if I have more lights maybe out of the shot, I could probably turn them off. You know, there's only 4 here visible. So these 2 aren't doing anything. Delete them. So it's only these 4 that are actually visible. You can also group the lights together. Command G. We'll call these recessed lights, since that's exactly what they are. You can even move them up a little bit, depending. You know, positioning is important. These are my candle lights. I group these together. I call these candle lights, right? And then, as you very well know, you should probably have a fill light as well. So let's turn the candle lights back on really quick. Turn the visibility on. If we want to get super technical about the color of the light, I'll like leave this up to you. If you want, like, I don't know, it's about what looks good. So you can take two approaches here. You can say, well, what the heck? There it is. You can take two approaches with these lights. You could say, well, I'll just guess at a color, and if it's warm, like orange, like this, and then you can even sample this color from your reference if you wanted to. There's even a color picker, so I could color pick this. So if you have a very orange, bright orange kind of light, then you're kind of guessing at what your candlelight color is going to be, and you're guessing at your intensity, and that's fine. I don't see anything really wrong with that as long as it looks good. But if you want to get all technical about it, go to my old teacher's website, 3drender.com, go to the Kelvin temperature, or just Google Kelvin temperature, and then you can say, okay, candle flame is like 1850 to 1930, and we can just go down here to Arnold, open up color temperature. Oh, look, it looks like it's like I already did that, 1930, right there, right? So this should override this, by the way. This color temperature, when it's on, is supposed to override this color. You might want to turn your samples up to 4 or more to fix any problems with noise. Samples at 4. And then again, make sure that your color temperature either matches this, 1850 to 1930, or, I mean, if you want to be all adventuresome about it, you can, of course, just crank on the slider until you feel like you have the color that you want. Sorry. So I'm going to be relatively scientific about this, so I'll say 1930. Of course, if one candle's 1930, probably the other one should be too. And this is just your, whoops, and this is just your Kelvin, your color temperature. By all means, change it to be whatever you want, but now I have, I mean, whatever looks good, right? But now I can save this image and then re-render with just the candle light and the light in the background. Who's got questions? Anybody? Main source of light, candle light. Next source of light is your fill light. Your fill light, again, should be your sky dome, which I don't have on. But I definitely can, get something that might work for this. Let's make the sky dome. And if you want to turn off the other lights, you can hide them by hitting H. Select the candle light group, hit H. Select the recessed light group, hit H. Maybe hit 5 in the viewport. 7, of course, is lighting. The sky dome, we need to plug in our HDR file, and this is whatever is going to support your narrative again. So this is going to help for your reflections. This is going to help for your fill light. We need to use an HDR file. No, not that one. I made that one. That's not what I want. What about this one? This is kind of interesting. This is the inside of an artist's workshop. This might be good. This is sunset on the beach. Sunset somewhere else. That's the really pink one. I'm going to go with the artist's workshop and just sort of see what happens. That's a lot of light in that HDR. You can turn the intensity up and down, but the default of 1 is going to be kind of interesting here, right? So then, if all my lights are off except for the sky dome, this is just my sky dome, nothing else, what does it look like? Well, this is what it looked like with no sky dome. So then, save the image, maybe render half, and now we can kind of compare by using a render region on the left versus the right. This is, again, no fill light, no sky dome. Just our principal source of light being our candle light and our recessed lighting in the back. Now, by comparison, this is just the sky dome. Oops, what happened? I lost the render. There we go. If you ever lose the render like that, you can click 1 to 1, and that should bring it back. So what do we see different here? Our reflections look much, much better with our sky dome, but that fill light is so bright that it kind of killed our nice kind of mood that we had going. We can still turn on all these lights, and it will work just fine. In other words, I can take my candle lights, and I can unhide them. I can make them visible again. Visibility 1. I can take even the recessed lights. This is going to just make the render time a lot higher, but now we're getting closer to the lighting scheme maybe that I had in mind. So the HDR that I'm using right now is like really, how do I put it, really bright. I could lower the intensity. That would be one approach. And that might work. But you got to look at the time of day. Cool, right? Completely lost the mood from here to here, right? So by adding that much fill light, I've just lost my mood completely. So what are my options? I can take the intensity of the fill light and lower it significantly. But I don't know if this is the right approach, specifically because the fill light that I'm using, the HDR that I'm using, and again, save the image, maybe render half or even a quarter. You don't have to render, well, just render part of the region, just render region. It's much faster, easier. Now we're getting back some of the mood, getting back some of that, the nice mood that I had earlier. But I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, it's still kind of daylight in the HDR, so this is cheating a little bit. It looks better, and you know, I can turn up the intensity just a little bit. Yeah, so for the students, both the roommate and the cat's name is Charles. Yeah, that's looking nice. Cool. Very nice. So see how I'm balancing my fill light against the main source of light, which I still want to be the candles. Can compare. But this is starting to look nice. So my main gripe with this is that my HDR, again, is got a lot of light coming through the windows. Like if I click view, I think it'll, yeah, see all this? This is like the middle of the day. This is like really bright middle of the day. And obviously that's not the narrative. If I have a candlelit dinner, maybe that's not really the narrative I'm going for. Maybe that's not really the feel that I'm after. Here's another HDR place. It's called SIBL Archive. I don't like it as much, quite frankly, because it doesn't give me a background plate, which I find super annoying, actually. But like we could pick this apartment, which is closer, like more interior lighting as a whole. What am I trying to say here? This is going to be the inside of an apartment. It'll have the lighting for the inside of an apartment. It's called Alex's apartment. Again, it's an HDR that I plug in to my Sky Dome. And again, I want to tweak the intensity. The only real difference is this doesn't have a background plate, which I prefer. But that's okay. You don't always have to have a background plate. Oh, cool. We can actually see the apartment here. So I'll use this. It would be really nice to get these exact light sources, including the TV, but that's okay. Let's see what we get here. This is the 8 meg file. There it is. You can see it's flipped out there. If I go to my perspective and I pull out, then this is now what I have for the room. And they do have these nice lamps up here, so that's really what I should be emulating with these guys. These recessed lights should probably be more like point lights to get the effect that I really want, but that's okay. Let's see what happens. Let's see what this looks like. Look at the difference. So keep the image. Render another side here. Oh, guys, it's like really disconcerting to teach like this.
They're low quality. Is there any way I can fix that, maybe?
I have a question. What was the question? Something about quality? Low quality? What's low quality? I'm confused. What fix what low quality in your render?
What quality? Low quality? What's low quality?
Whenever I'm trying to render.
What fix what low quality in your render?
Yeah.
Crazy echo. Are you rendering with Arnold? Are you rendering with Arnold? Yes, no? I hear a lot of beeping, but I don't know.
I think what they're talking about is that when you're in the render panel and the resolution is low, you just need to change the pixel width and stuff.
Man, I know you guys are struggling with this, and I'm wondering if maybe I'm making this overly difficult for you. It should not be this hard, really. And so I don't know resolution wise. Are you talking about the resolution of the render? Look, go to your render settings. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the fourth slate icon with the gear. This guy. This should have Arnold renderer on. So you need to have your Arnold plugin turned on in order for Arnold to be turned on. Then under common, this is going to be what you're going to render out to if you wanted to render to JPEG or whatever. But the important part is your image size or image preset size or just simply your resolution, which you can type in to be whatever you want. So maybe I want 640 by 480. 640 by 480. Hit enter. Then that's going to be my new resolution. Now when I render, which is going to be the second icon, this launches the render. And that's just 640 by 480. Whoop. Again, always make sure you're rendering from the right camera. Yeah, that's right, Sai. I'm only rendering at 640 by 480. So hopefully you guys can see Maya right now. So guys, I want to go over that again. This is only 640 by 480. Look.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, so this is only 640 by 480. You don't have to render in HD or high definition until you're ready to turn in your blog update. Would be nice to have in 720. So 720 would be ideal for your homework. But while you're testing lighting, so for example, right now, I don't know if I want my fill light to go up or down. In other words, should I turn my fill light down or up? It's a little difficult for me to decide on that right now. If I want this to have more moody, sort of maybe more romantic or more mood, then maybe I would turn the fill light down. So I would go to my sky dome, and remember my sky dome looks like this. There's actually a lot of light coming from the TV. I could even rotate this, by the way, so that the lighting would be, the TV would be from this side, and it would be lighting this. And remember, this is your fill light. I repeat, fill light. Not your main source of light, but rather your fill light. So it's perfectly acceptable to turn the intensity really low. Like really low. It depends on what kind of mood you're going for. But if you're going for something like a romantic candlelight dinner where most of the light is from the candle, then yeah, I'd keep the fill light pretty low, personally, if it were me. Now, this is what I currently have. I can kind of slide through my work so far. But let's save this image up here. Again, click this icon, save image. And I don't know, if you want to save time, you can just use render region. Wow. Lots of notifications. Yeah, I'm going to get into this. Yep, that's correct. Literal Eden or Eden. You've got to have your lighting and modeling finalized, or as close as you can get by next class. Yes. There you go. Finalize your rendering and lighting if you can. Or rather, finalize your lighting and your modeling is what I'm trying to say. So now you can hopefully see the difference here. Yep, hopefully you guys can see the difference. Like, see, with more or less fill light, the right side is less fill light, the left side is more fill light, and this is just the intensity of the sky dome. And you can really see the difference in the reflections as well. So if I wanted something more moody or romantic, I might turn my fill light really low. If I wanted more something like middle of the day or afternoon, I mean, after all, if we look at this HDR and we look at this, there still seems to be light outside. judging by the windows, yeah, there's definitely still light outside. And there's a lot of light in the room in this HDR. So logically, you should actually have the intensity at 1. Just because you can turn the intensity of the HDR up and down doesn't mean you necessarily should. The option is there, but again, remember that your fill light typically should be lower intensity compared to your key lights. So let's make one more. This is not going to be sort of moody or romantic at all, but this is going to be like, okay, full blast. What does the HDR look like at an intensity of 1 or 100%? And so my fill light is working as hard as it's supposed to be working at 100%. So now decide, like, which is the narrative you're going for. Maybe you're going for something more on the moody or romantic side, or dramatic. Let's go with dramatic. Doing something more dramatic lighting, less fill light. Less dramatic lighting, we'll say, more fill light. Hope that makes sense. And obviously, whatever HDR you use really influences both what the reflections look like and what the overall, shall we say, feel of the lighting is, or the fill light. If you're fighting with this, somebody was saying they're fighting with noise. I definitely have noise here. I don't know if you guys can see the noise, but go to your Skydome samples. Turn up your Skydome samples to at least 4. And once you do that, if you've got your Skydome samples on at least 4, then let's draw a little render region around where I see the noise. Notice I'm only using render region. That way I don't have to wait. So slow. Come on. Finish. Oh my god. Hopefully you can see, even though I'm missing a square. Damn it. Finish. Really? Well, if you're getting noise, it's because your Skydome sampling is too low. This here, I don't know how well you guys can see this. I'm trying to zoom in. Yeah. Now, look on the right. This is a sample of 1 in your Skydome. Look on the left. This is a sample of 4 in your Skydome. So what's the story here? The story is we always want to render with at least 4 samples in our Skydome to get rid of noise. So check the samples in your light. There we go. Now let's, oh man, damn it. Check the samples in your light. I repeat, check the samples in your light. I cannot emphasize that enough. There's going to be sampling in your point light. There's going to be sampling in your Skydome. Now, let's zoom in and let's look at the difference again. See? Hopefully you guys can see this. Again, default on the right, this is a sample of 1 on your Skydome. On the left, this is a sampling of 4 on your Skydome. Please always change your Skydome sampling to at least 4, but understand the rendering time is going to go up. So what do you guys think? Should I go for more dramatic lighting or less dramatic lighting? Meaning, should the fill light be turned up to 100% as it is on the left, or should the fill light be turned way down for a more intimate setting? I don't know. What do you guys think? This is, again, how you use your lighting to drive your narrative. Is it making sense? Does somebody have a vote for me? Does anybody care?
I think the one on the right seems more accurate to what would actually happen because, like, I don't think you would need a candle if you had that much fill light.
Yes.
Like in real life.
Yes. So we still want to keep the sky dome and we still want to keep the HDRI in there, but it's perfectly allowed and oftentimes encouraged even to turn down your fill light so that it only just barely fills in the shadows. Note that the shadows are not just pure black here. So yeah, you can totally turn down the intensity on your sky dome to taste, to be whatever you want it to be. That's absolutely correct. Let's be crazy and draw a big horizontal render region. But I want to emphasize your render region can be whatever you want it to be, or whatever you feel like waiting for. But use render region to test your light intensity. Use render region to test your light color. Here's a pro tip for you guys, and I try not to use that term very much, but I think that it applies here. If you're using lights, and I'm really liking this, by the way, so if you like it, then you can make a larger render region, or just render the whole thing. But the pro tip here, I can't tell when my voice cuts out because of rendering, but use colored lights that are both cool and warm. Did you get that? Can somebody repeat that back to me? Use colored lights that are both cool and warm. Both. So that way you get interplay of color. Did you get that? So the candle...
Use colored lights that are both cool and warm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think seems like your voice doesn't cut out if it's as long as it's not on Discord. I think I don't know.
Oh, good.
Is your audio coming from is it being recorded differently when you stream, or is it like the same thing as just?
I've muted my Discord, so this is just coming through my microphone and streaming. Yeah. But I think it does have to do with the rendering as well. Don't forget, you can of course turn...
Okay, then I think you're okay to... I don't know, the audio quality seems a little bit better than Discord when you stream. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, I just don't want my voice to break up because I'm trying to talk over the render, if that makes any sense. And I don't want... and actually, let's do something really quick. We don't have that much time. Let's do something interesting for some maybe light streaming in from outside, perhaps. We have a TV. That's kind of not a great light source, but we could use a directional light or a spotlight to add some additional light if we wanted to. That might be a little much in this case. Oh, I know what I was going to do. I was going to composite the flame. Let's just move on to that. That seems to be like a better idea to me. Damn it. Work. Okay. So I'm getting pretty close to what I want here. The warm light from the candle and then the cool light from the background. You can see that interplay of warm and cool. And then I also have what we call convoluted light from the high dynamic range image on the sky dome for the fill light, so that the shadows aren't just pure black. But I'm now finally getting something that maybe I want to composite some candle flame onto. So with this last render region, I'll add some candle flame. When we save out our images, we want to save out our images as not raw. So there's a save option box, guys, and I feel like oh, come on, almost done. Some of you are struggling with this. So watch. File save, save image option box. In the option box, turn off raw image. Switch to color managed image. Very important. Okay, I cannot emphasize that enough. Once you've got that, then go to File. Oh God, I clicked the render button by accident. No, 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 no. Great. Well, maybe I'll just do it with
Rip.
another image. It's fine. I'm not that worried about it because we can just use Photoshop and use a different image. Or just wait for it because it's almost done. Okay, God, sorry about all that. So again, File, make sure you've checked off raw image, you're in color managed image, and then finally save the image. I would say save it as a Maya IFF file. Really, Maya IFF. I'm serious, candlelight, because that will give you the best quality, in my opinion. You could save it as a TIFF or a Targa. Try not to save it as a JPEG if you can help it. This Photoshop crashed on me. And Photoshop really has been giving me problems lately. Man. I'm out of time here, Photoshop. I don't have time for weirdness. It says it's closed, but yet it's still there. Close. Photoshop close right now. Thank you. Okay. So, what I'd like you to do, if you have a candle flame like this one, Google candle flame. So this is really important, guys, and I'm going to end the class. We have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to end here, but we're going to composite this flame into our render. This should be the last thing you do, meaning that once you have a nice render at 720 or above 720, then you can composite your flame.
We have more time than that. I think class ends at 5:50, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I apologize. Sorry about that. Thank you. But either way, this is still something, if you've got your candles lit, you need to know how to do this. And you're right. Fighting with Photoshop now. It's so much fun. Man. Whew. Where were we? Oh yeah, the render, right? Jeez. There it is. Everybody see this on my screen? The render in Photoshop? Hello? Copy the fire. Paste the fire.
Yep.
So here's the fire, right? Here's how we can composite it. First, try screen. zoom in. Now it's a little hard to see, but there's actually kind of a white area. There's some leftover pixels in here. Obviously the scale is too big. So hit Control T to adjust your scale, hold down Alt until, and of course look at your reference, because probably your flame is not going to be quite that big. Something like that.
Yeah, I see it.
Good. Now if you still get a white box around stuff, because I'm still getting kind of a white box, this is how you fix it. Let's put this over the wick. Scale it down a little bit more. Hit enter. So if you get this white box, hit Command M for color curves, and bring your color curves down. If you bring your color curves up, then you should actually see that white box more. If I blow it out, there's the white box I'm referring to. That's what we're trying to get rid of. So we go the other way. Instead of having the color curves go up, we have the color curve go down. And see, now the white box is gone, right? So I've gotten rid of the white pixels around the flame. All right, now we want to add glow. So I'll hit Command J, that'll duplicate the layer. Then go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Bring it up by 2 or 3 pixels. This is going to be my inner glow, my inner halo. Now, if you want this to be brighter, of course, it's on screen mode. Every time I duplicate it with Control J, it's going to get brighter. So if you wanted to brighten your glow, you could do that. If you wanted to lessen the glow, you would just lower the opacity. This is going to be my inner glow, my inner halo. Let's do this again. Control J. Now with the new layer, I'll go up here to Filter, Blur, Gaussian again, but this time I'm really going to make that glow come out to maybe 10 or 12 pixels or more. This is like the outer, oop, that's a little high. Let's go down to about there. So like, I don't know, 12, 13. And you can kind of see the outer glow, and you can even name it if you really feel like it. Outer glow, inner glow. So inner, outer. And then zoom out until we're at 100%. And that's that. It looks like they're floating a little high off the wick, I would say. So I could group them with Control G. But sadly, it doesn't really, like in Maya, W, move it down. No, we're not in Maya, obviously. So we could try dragging it down, but it's only going to drag down one layer at a time. So grouping in this case is kind of stupid. We almost have to hold down Shift to get both of them, and then we could move it down by holding down Shift and selecting both layers. But I could duplicate the group, Command J for duplicate, and then with the group duplicated, of course, same thing, Shift select the layers, and then move the flame over. All right, what do you guys think? No, yes, maybe, possibly, could be. What is the little on and off button on the render window used for? Is that you're referring to the on and off button in the old render window or the new interactive one? Which one? Also, Photoshop sucks. Well, that's nice. Keep your feelings to yourself about Photoshop. If you want to use GIMP, I don't really care. If you want to use Blender and you produce work as well as everybody else in the class, then I'm okay with that too. It's not about the tool you use, but the work you make with it, buddy. I don't really care your feelings. I don't like 3D Studio Max, so I'll just go around telling people that 3D Studio Max sucks. But guess what? I can show you great examples of 3D Studio Max work all day long. So it's not the tool, it's what you do with it. Anywho, I don't really care. I don't care if you prefer Clip Studio. I don't care if you prefer Procreate. Don't care. I prefer Maya to 3D Studio Max. Guess what? Nobody cares. Anyway, back to the actual situation at hand here. For you to create these glows that I just went over is important for adding glow to your candle. And again, if you wanted to, you could duplicate this in screen mode, and it's going to make that glow pop a little bit more. So I don't care if you use GIMP. I don't care if you use Clip Studio, Procreate. I don't care what you use, as long as you produce the work and it looks good. I teach you what I know. I know Photoshop. Right? So, there you go. What about MS Paint? Sure, you want to do something 1 pixel at a time. I don't care. I joke, but only half joking, because I've used MS Paint a lot, and I mean, whatever gets you through the day. I'm going to teach you Photoshop because that's what I know. I'm going to teach you Maya because that's what I know. Now, what about the stop button in the render? Are you referring to the buttons up here? And which render view are you referring to? In other words, are we talking about the interactive render? Because if this is the interactive render you're talking about in the Maya shelf, there is definitely a play and pause button, or a stop button and play button. So maybe that's what you're talking about? I don't know.
No, it's not the interactive render. It is the one that we've been using. It's the little on and off button beside like the RGB little thingy drop down menu.
Over here you're talking about this. This is so the interactive rendering thing is not new to Arnold's shelf. It's not like
No, it's the little blue button.
this one. View transform. Little blue button. In this render window or in the Arnold render window?
Yes.
Yes, what? This is the blue button? On, off, view transform? I believe that's raw.
It's the one that says it's the one that says on and off.
Yeah, so that turns on your color profile or color correction versus raw. So if it's off, this is what the raw data would look like. If it's on, this is what the sRGB color correct would look like. We want to use 2.2 gamma. That's our best. That's the best color profile you can use. This is what we call linear workflow or real world linear workflow, 2.2 gamma. This is supposed to be the best. You can use either sRGB, which I think is kind of the understood standard, or there's actually a workflow that uses 2.2, but that also assumes that your textures are 2.2. I think either one for the purposes of this class, so either sRGB or 2.2. I do think this is a little bit brighter. And then when we save scene option box. This is where, again, the color managed. So that on-off button is basically showing you this is color management on and color management off. When you export it, so what happens, right? So if I have this off, this is what it looks like as raw. So if we go to the same scene option box and we have raw on, that's what it's going to look like. So if I save this out right now, it's going to look like that in Photoshop. That's not what I want. What I want is either your sRGB or your 2.2, and I want that on in the viewport, on in the render window, so I can see what that adjustment looks like. It's basically color correction. Then when I save it, again, make sure you're saving out the color corrected or color managed image, not the raw image. Does that make more sense to you guys? That was causing me so many problems. Yeah, that's why you need to go always. It doesn't even matter which render view, but just make sure that you're going to the option box and always saving out not the raw image, always the color managed image. And there's some argument that says it's never, like 2.2 is as close to reality as you can get. But then I feel like you've got to also adjust your textures to account for it. I think that in Maya, if you switch to 2.2 as color correction, then that should just be all you need to do. So again, I prefer this, but I feel like this is what it is by default, and that's fine too. So either sRGB or 2.2, which again, 2.2 is arguably better. So if you want to be all technical about it, use 2.2, and for that matter, use all Kelvin, meaning that your lights should all always be Kelvin except for your Sky Dome. Your Sky Dome can use Kelvin, but then that's going to override the HDR, so that would be silly. So if I wanted a sunset, then I could type in the sunset. What did we say the sunset Kelvin was? I feel like we found this out a little while ago. Where was it? 3drender.com. go to the archives, go to the color temperature chart. We want sunset. It's like 2000 to 3000. So I could turn my sky dome to 3000 Kelvin, and I'm going to get a ton of orange light. And personally, I feel like solid orange light doesn't look anywhere near as good as this HDR of Alex's apartment, which I think looks a lot better. So, I mean, we can always test this. Use color temperature. Okay. So what does it look like now with just a solid 3000? The reflections are going to suck, basically. What's going to happen is that your reflections are all going to turn solid orange, is the answer. And you won't get any cool reflections. Because the reflections come from your HDR. That's why. Oh, see? Told you. See what I mean? Now it's just solid orange. So the only light that I would say don't use Kelvin or don't use light temperature is going to be your sky dome, which is the one you want to plug in your HDR into. And your HDR, again, should just be what supports your narrative. So is this Circus thing? I feel like I downloaded the Circus HDR at some point. Of course, now it's not easy to find. But I do have this sunset, or actually that's beach on sunrise. That's another sunrise. It's nice that I can see my HDR actually in, and there's the artist's room or artist workshop. We can try this. But notice it's like the middle of the day. So then if I have my HDR intensity at 1, that's going to be this at full blast. And you can totally see the windows back here, right? And just to show you the difference. One more. Who has more questions? You want to type out the question? I've not been looking at my Twitch tab because it tends to slow things down. So hopefully nobody's been asking questions in the Twitch chat because that really slows things down. In the sense that I can only look at the Twitch chat or the Discord chat. I can't look at both. And since I'm seeing more activity, like a lot more activity on Discord, then I tend to look at that. Oof, so slow.
I don't think you can see old comments if you open a new Twitch window.
Yeah,
Heads up.
I mean, I can if I watch the recording afterwards, but otherwise, no. All right, guys. So there it is with a completely different HDR with much brighter fill light. Kind of kills the mood a little bit. But again, it's the middle of the day with light streaming through the windows. So of course, you're going to just get a lot more light in general. You can even see the light from the windows appearing in the bowl's reflection right here. And even in the candlestick reflection. So the HDR that you use makes a huge difference on both the mood, the narrative, the color palette, really everything. And arguably, some people would even say that the HDR does most of the work. Technically, that's not true, in the sense that technically your key light should be doing most of the work. Emphasis on should be. So you can always turn up and down the intensity on your key light or on your fill light, on your sky dome. It doesn't matter to me. But you have to make a decision for yourself. Like, do you want to use a directional light for your sun or moon and a sky dome with an HDR in it, which is how I would recommend that. Like, here's the backstage circus. Here's the background plate, I guess. Looks like this. It's kind of a weird background plate, which is not even showing up for some reason. Why? Oh God, hold on. Yes, I'll use paint, of course. Never mind. Let's look at the preview. That's why. Still, oh, that's finally working. So this is what the back of a circus looks like. Note that I've got this light bulb up here and all these light bulbs here. So we would like to be able to put this in our Maya scene. If I pop this in my HDR, my lighting, or excuse me, pop this in my sky dome, then that's going to be what my fill light becomes. And it's going to be very orange and red. So again, your fill light, see, this is now what the fill light is this artist workshop. If I use this backstage circus, I'm going to get much better reflections. You can see all these lights are going to reflect. And I'm going to get this color palette as well. So since we have candles on, it's already really warm. Like you can actually see, that's a lot of light. I can even rotate my sky dome to make sure that the light is coming from this direction. Let's try it out. Again, render region. Maybe we only want to try out half. I hope this is helping you guys. I'm really concerned that maybe I'm repeating myself too much, or maybe not enough. I don't know what part you're confused about. So I can already tell it's super bright. I hit the escape button. If it's too bright, turn down the intensity. It's okay to go really low, 0.16, 0.08, 0.004. Doesn't matter to me. It's just a question of how much fill light you want in the scene. You do want the reflections to show up though, so I wouldn't make the fill light completely too close to zero, because then, you know, you're okay, cool. That's good. Yeah, this is better. So back to what I keep saying. Let your story or your narrative maybe be reinforced by the HDR image that you choose, or the HDR light probe that you choose. So then that way, if I want something that has warmer light, that circus background has warmer light, I still get the reflections from the circus HDR, but by turning down the intensity, because you can see there's a lot of light in this HDR, but I can really turn down the intensity 0.08. And like I said, you can go as low as whatever you think is reasonable. Don't forget to turn your samples up to 4. This is creating the noise in your render. So if you have the default of 1, you're going to get a lot more noise here. It's going to render a lot faster though. So let's see what happens. I'll render the other half. But now my sampling, this render took like 40 seconds. Let's see if this render renders faster. It should render a lot faster. Yep. So a sampling of 1 will render much faster, but at the cost of giving you more noise. So now when I zoom in, look at the difference. I've got all this noise over here. Hopefully you can see when I zoom in here. Look at the right side. That's a sampling of 1, super noisy. This is a sampling of 4, much better. So typically if you're just playing around with intensity or something, then maybe you can use a sampling of 1. But when you're ready to turn something in, then you probably want to turn your sampling back up to 4 to turn something in. Okay, good. You understand stuff. Okay, can't think of any other questions. Well, we're getting close to the end here, so let's see if I can do something kind of fun at the end. Oh, yeah, we had a glowing crystal ball thing, so let's do that for fun. I think that's a fun one because that's what we did in the last class, and I feel like it went pretty well. So I'm going to go on fast forward for the last 8 minutes of class, really fast, so watch how this works. Take the lighting that I've already made, group them, Command G, Control G, call this light rig, just so we can keep all our lights totally like isolated or easy to manipulate. Group stuff together makes it easy to organize and stuff like that. Okay. Anyway, so I want to make a glowing crystal ball as per somebody's suggestion. So I go to poly modeling, I make a sphere. You know, if you're lucky here and you just make it on the table, then that works fine. Note that it's floating. A more clever way to do it would be to select the table, make it live with a giant magnet. Then that way when I made the sphere, it would stick to the table. I think that's better personally. If you ask me, I think it's better. Now at this point, we could make a cylinder to put the sphere on. That would be one way to do it. We could also be really clever, duplicate the sphere, call this crystal ball. Take the original one, call it stand. You're probably saying, but it's not a stand. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know, it's not a stand. I'll go into wireframe mode with the 4 button wireframe mode. I see the inner sphere there, sorry. The inner sphere there, I pull it down. Again, this is meant to be the stand. Yeah, I could scale it, and no, it doesn't look like a stand yet. But, you know, if I go in here to the channel bar under input, and I just change all these to like 8 and 8, and really make it low poly. So it's like a super low poly stand now. And as you hopefully know at this point, anything that's low poly is just like a lot easier to deal with as a whole. So if it's low poly, that's typically going to give me a lot less trouble. Like, for example, if I wanted to select an edge loop, F10, double click the edge loop, Control F11, and then I got these faces selected. Or I can, of course, also just shift select faces. I mean, I don't know, however you want to do it. I personally like of course, it's easy to miss in wireframe mode, but I personally like the idea of selecting the edge loop and then going back to faces, maybe going back to vertices, Control F11, Control F10. Remember to scale towards the center to flatten something out. You know, something like that. Go back to your shaded mode. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on making this stand, but at this point you could just decide for yourself like how you want this stand to work by, of course, if you guess manipulating edge loops, just like the candlestick, then you win. So just do this as the same way as you made the candlestick, hit the 3 button, and okay, whatever. It's a stand for my crystal ball. Yeah, fine. Now, crystal ball, we duplicate, so Command D. This is going to be the glow or the light source inside of the crystal ball. Now again, go to your wireframe, take the glow glowing ball and decide how big you want it to be. That's kind of up to you. Then from here, with the glow selected, or the sphere that's going to create the glow, we now go to our Arnold shelf. We want to pick which light. We don't want the first one, that's the area light. We want the second one, that's the mesh light. That's creating a light from this mesh. That's the glow light I'm referring to, which we can now make green or red, or I don't know, whatever. Let's make it green. And then we can make sure that light is visible. Let's keep the samples at 1 for now, but we can crank up the intensity. Now here's the thing. It's not going to show us any light with this crystal ball on because it's being hidden. If I go now to... Uh-oh, bowl's in the way. Get the bowl out of the way. I've got to make this fast. So now I should actually see this glowing light, hopefully, with a little render region. And if I don't, then obviously I got to crank up my intensity. And I know you guys are thinking, oh, you're out of time, buddy. And you're kind of right, but this shouldn't take that long. So light glow, let's crank up the intensity a lot to like 320. Go back, hit that render region again. Bam. There it is. It's working. So there's the sphere that's creating the light. And it's definitely creating light. No doubt about it. There's my glowing sphere. Go back to my crystal ball. Turn the visibility back on because we need this guy to be glass. Turn the visibility on. Last thing, go to the material editor. We're going to get more into this under rendering editor, hypershade. The hypershade is Maya's material editor. Go to Arnold. Go to standard surface. We're making a new Arnold standard surface material. Don't worry, we're going to go over this a lot. So don't feel like you have to get this the first time. There's a glass preset. Use glass preset replace. And then once you've done that, you can apply that to the crystal ball by selecting the crystal ball and then right click assign material. I already did this, so there's already one called glass. But right click assign material, and then we're basically out of time, but I want to show you how cool this looks. So then let's take a look at this, and this will be what we end the class with. Oh, I feel like the glass didn't really show up very well at all. I'm getting close though. So, yeah, that's definitely glass. Oh, it needs thickness. Huh, how could I forget the extrusion? No wonder. We need some thickness for our glass. Oh God, that was a mistake there. So use your local translate to give your glass thickness. I knew there was something wrong. And now, do we get the glass crystal ball with the glowing sphere inside of it? Yes, we do. It's looking pretty nice. You could probably move the glow out a little bit. And then we're going to call class about done with the glowing crystal ball. Now there's sampling here, so we would definitely want to make the sampling look a little bit nicer, but we're getting a nice glowing crystal ball effect. Okay, like I said, go into your light, adjust your samples. That'll fix your noise, and I guess that's it. So I can take questions really quick for anybody that has questions. I know that was fast. Cool. Yes, it is. I think it's cool. Yep, note that turning up the samples really helps. Look at the difference here, guys. I really want you to see this. This is the default sample of 1 on the left. This is the sampling of 4 on the right. So once you get the color right, the intensity right, then turn your sampling up to 4. I guess that's it. I'm going to stop the recording. I hope you've enjoyed today's lighting and rendering lesson. I will turn on my other lights, my standard light rig, and I will make one final render, which I guess I'll post on Discord with all my lights on, because remember guys, light ideally with one light at a time. Don't try to light with 5 or 6 lights at once because it's just going to get really confusing and hard to deal with. So note that I've been trying to light only with 1 or 2 lights on at any given time. That way rendering time is a lot more manageable, and also it's just easier to tweak your lights. And don't forget to use render region. Always, always, always. And I guess I got to say goodbye. If you have questions, can you make your wine things out of glass? Yes, the wine glasses will definitely be made of glass. That's the whole idea. Yes, yes, yes. That's precisely correct. We're going to move on to physical-based materials next class. So for homework, you've got to have your lighting done. For homework, you've got to have your modeling done. So that, oh, that looks so cool, guys. Look at that. Super cool, right? So now this is now with all my lights on and all my I've done light adjustments now with some fill light coming from my sky dome. I've got lights in the background for my IES or photometric lights. I've got point lights that give me candle flame, light from my candle flame. And lastly, I have this really eerie glowing crystal ball on the table. So now I'm getting some pretty interesting lighting. And you guys, for homework, get to fix your lighting, hopefully for the last time, I hope, and fill out your scene with models. Like just try to get all your modeling done, and or just add models to your scene. Make sure that all supports your narrative, whatever your narrative is, and then post that to your blog by next class, so that by next class we can talk a lot more about materials, physical attributes of materials, things like specularity, bump mapping, UV unwrapping, and all the stuff that we need to get to. We can't get to surface development until we have our modeling and our lighting done. But if your modeling and lighting is looking good, then next class we can finally move on to surfaces and surface material stuff. But this is where I'm going to end, so hopefully you got a lot out of that. So I'll jump back to Discord now.